Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
Next up on the morning drive with me, Tim Elliott, we're exploring a question on every marketer's mind. Are influencers still relevant in the UAE? And what does the future hold for the creator economy as we're right at the start of 2026? Where are things headed? Now, to help us navigate this rapidly evolving landscape, we have Linda Kender, Regional Director for the MENA at MMA Global. Linda's a seasoned marketing leader and entrepreneur and has extensive experience in brand management, strategic growth, and has launched some internationally recognized brands. Linda, good to have you on the line with us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Tim. Good morning to all your listeners, and
Good to
nice
have
to
you
be
with
on.
us. Can I start with that question? I already kind of posed the question in the introduction, actually, and it's a good place to start, I think, for a conversation like this. Social media influencers, a rude word to some people, less so to others, but controversial at times too. But are influencers still relevant in the UAE as it stands today?
Well, first of all, to address the question, is it called influencers or creators?
True.
We have actually come to the agreement that there are two types of content creators, and some of them are influencers and are using their content to actually influence the buying, and some are creators in terms of their content is not necessarily driving sales, but it leads to it. So they are creators. But in general, the term now that is more accepted is creators. So let's refer to them as creators. So we keep everyone happy because both influencers and creators are creators, but not all creators are influencers. So that's the conclusion we've come up with at the Marketing and Media Alliance, which is the MMA.
Uh-huh.
Um, Actually, it's a very interesting question, Tim. They are more relevant than ever, and they are here to stay. And as it becomes a stronger marketing tool, it's no longer, nice to have in your funnel. It's a must-have for all brands. Um, and we are witnessing actually the biggest change in marketing, other than AI and technology and how it's affecting the marketing industry. Creator economy and creators are changing how marketing, word of mouth, is becoming. It is becoming the brand voice. So we are seeing a huge shift from brands doing their own advertising to influencers. That shift has been ongoing now for the past, I would say, 7 years solid, but in the past 2 years, it has taken on new measures. With that came a lot of governance as well. So we have a lot of new governance, especially in the UAE, about how influencers use their voice, use their platforms, use their content to affect sales and brands in the Middle East and beyond, obviously. But yeah, Middle East is one of the most massive markets, and that's why, for example, at the MMA we have different committees to answer different needs and different marketing um, issues, or things that are happening on the ground. And influencer committee is one of our most active committees, actually, because a lot of marketing in the Middle East is dependent on influencers.
It's hard to put your finger on how influence works and how creators influence, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not a
Yeah.
massive social media user. So I do occasionally sit and watch content for a little while, as everybody does. I doom scroll a little bit, and I don't really, I find it very hard to analyze the effect of influencers or creators who influence, however the term should be correctly used. Um, How has the role, if you can quantify it a little bit for me, Linda, how's the role of influencers or creators evolved over the past few years, and the past few
Mm.
years specifically in this region?
Yeah, sure. So, in the past, I would say influencers' impact on business used to be around 10 to 15%, depending on the industry. But like, especially in the fashion industry, for example, or the beauty industry, we had a minimum of 10 to 15. And now we're talking about 60 plus. So it has
Wow. Wow.
massively shifted. And
Wow.
and that's why we talk about these numbers, and we try to explain to the market that, content creators and influencers really are changing the game. And in the Middle East, we haven't seen still, the massive effect of influencers or content creators actually creating sales channels, which we will see. It's coming out of Asia primarily, but it has started to infiltrate into the Middle East as well. So we're going to see more and more sales coming through influencers, and they have changed the funnel, the marketing funnel, so much that it has been a conversation to redefine how consumers are now going from, you know, from being exposed to the brand to purchasing. Used to go through a huge funnel of, decision, consideration, comparison, and then making a decision to buy. Now we see with influencers influence rising, um, everyone going straight from, seeing something on a reel and hitting the buy button. So it has increased quite drastically, and we're gonna see the real influencer market growth in our lifetime in the next 2 years, going from, you know, 10% 3 years ago to really, like, in some companies, we're going to see 80 to 90% growth, because small and medium businesses do not have the advertising budgets that larger companies have. And to create authentic impact, they have to go through influencers or content creators.
Uh,
Nano influencers growth has become a real thing. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of changes, but the numbers go from 10 to 15%, 5 years ago, to, depending on the industry, again, 50, 60% in some cases. Yeah.
Okay, so it's become a much more direct
Yeah.
relationship. Let me ask you a little bit about creators, influencers, and a phrase that you mentioned there, the nano influencers. Are they more influential than the big ones now, or is it just brand dependent?
Yes, I think that's a very good question. Brand dependency is something. So it depends. If you are a mass market producer, and your reach can go beyond all niches, and it can address everyone. For example, crisps, and like Lay's can go to any influencer and do whatever they want, and it doesn't matter. It's just a fun activity as far as they're concerned. But when you go into niche products or niche markets, then nano influencers have serious influence, because no one is going to believe, the big influencers when they talk about a brand that's up and coming, because they know that they're being paid for it. But if someone, a creator, actually integrates that authentically to the right target audience, it becomes much more effective.
From a business perspective, Linda, what makes an influencer, a creator campaign truly successful? Can you put that in? Can you quantify that a little
Yeah.
bit for me?
Yeah. Truly, it's one thing that we have seen that resonates with everyone, rather than all other numbers and everything else, is authenticity. So, you know, brands are now lending their voices to influencers and content creators. And if that voice sounds fake, it's like an AI advertisement. You just stop at, you actually get a little bit offended that they went there. So authenticity is the key differentiator right now. If they're able to build that product or that service into their narrative in an authentic way, then the consumers are going to accept that and consider it, because one of the people that they respect and influence and get, allow them to influence them is saying this is good. But if it's something that is so off brand and so far away for that person to actually be championing this product or service, the end user does get turned off. So it's actually a very interesting dynamic. But authenticity and true to brand from the influencer's point of view is the most important thing to the end user. Now, this creates a real problem between, brands wanting to communicate their own message versus letting the content creator take this on, understand it, and interpret it in a way that would resonate with their consumers or with their followers. And that's where we see brands falling into, the mistake of trying to create an ad through an influencer or a content creator, because they're not advertisements. These are not walking advertisements as they used to be called, once upon a time. They are human, they're talking to humans, they're they have their own opinions, they have their own way of communicating, and brands have to respect that and accept that, okay, I'm dealing with this influencer has their way, let them do it their way. That's when we see content being authentic and more, it resonates better with their followers.
Well, that's when it's complementary, isn't it? When somebody is authentic and can be themselves, because that's when you get the buy-in, I suppose,
Exactly.
from your
Exactly.
target. Um,
Absolutely.
is it fair to say that influencers, content creators, are replacing traditional marketing channels? Are they much more than a complementary strategy as it was, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago?
I wouldn't say they're replacing marketing strategies. It is what we say is they're adding to the word of mouth. So word of mouth marketing is, especially in the Middle East, is very important because that's where you get, reference from. So when you're making a decision to buy something, you need a reference. You need to hear someone say it was good, it worked well, it did its job. So they are they are an additional channel, but a growing importance of that channel is now what's happening. So 5 years ago, as I said, it was a nice to have, or um, marketing directors would sometimes tap into that just to get a new message across, or create some hype or something.
Mm.
Now it is built into every marketing manager's strategy. If it's not, there is a gap in their strategy for sure.
Okay. Can I ask you about the financial side of influencers or content creators a
Yeah.
little bit? It's what everybody wants to talk about because we hear these kind of astronomical figures of what people are charging to post a picture at an event
Yeah.
or whatever it
Yeah.
is. Um,
Yeah.
and there's also the added kind of side question of, whether influencers in the past have been worth the money. But two sides to this. The kinds of fees that are being charged, if you can give us an idea of that,
Yeah.
just out of interest's sake, but also, how do you quantify reach and, by extension, influence to justify those charges?
Okay. So when it comes to macro, which are, or, like the massive content creators or influencers, starting all the way from Kim Kardashian, and we've even seen, stars like J Lo doing campaigns for brands. Um, those are going to be massive numbers. So we have heard the 500,000, the 1 million, the 2 million. These are endorsements.
Mm.
So you have to think of them as celebrity endorsements. You cannot think of them as influencer, payouts,
Right.
because they are endorsements. So when we're talking about macro, it's a very different picture than the real picture for most influencers and content creators. So most content creators and influencers would fall into the segment of micro and nano, and this is the growing industry actually. So it really depends on the brand and what they're trying to achieve, and how often they're going to use an influencer, or how much of their marketing budget is given to influencers. And we've at MMA, we've tried to come up with a rate card that basically quantifies reach versus performance versus number of followers. Because in the past, it used to be very simple. It's like if you had this many followers, you would get between, I don't know, $100 to $500. If you have that many followers, then you'd get 500 plus. But that's not the reality anymore. It really is dependent on um, the brand size and how much of their budget is put into influencer marketing. Um, we are coming up with guidelines. This will be published on our website soon, to actually try to quantify, because again, we're not dealing with an advertisement in a magazine or a banner on a website. These are people, and they do consider themselves artists because they're creating something. And just like you cannot really put a price on art, or it is relevant to how you look at it, that's the general feeling amongst influencers and content creators as well. We're trying to create a guide so that brands and influencers alike are able to say, I am this influencer, I have this many followers, and I can reach this, and based on my past performances, this is what I'm worth. And then it's up to the brand to accept that or not. um, there's been a lot of hit or misses, as you said in the beginning of the show. I was an entrepreneur myself, or I am. And one day, one influencer that I knew nothing about bought my product and put it online in a picture, and I thought my website was hacked when got, like, all of a sudden 300 orders out of nowhere, and it was at the beginning of the company. And I was like, what the hell is happening? I called my IT people and I'm like, I think we're hacked. Something is wrong. Please look into it. And they were like, nope, these are, real sales. Something is happening. Please check it out. And we had to dig in to find out what happened. And it was an influencer's post. It had nothing to do with us. She posted, people liked what she was wearing. They asked her where it was from, and that was the end of it. So she is priceless as far as my brand was concerned, and whatever she asked for, I always gave afterwards. And then we had bigger influencers that we tried to go through, and we wouldn't get 3 or 5 sales. So it depends on how influential someone is. But yeah, I mean, this is the trickiest part of the business,
Mm.
because we are dealing with people and emotional and sentimental worth. It becomes a bit of an issue to try to standardize and quantify someone's reach and effect.
And I guess by extension, it's very hard to, standardize rates in brand campaigns,
Yes,
isn't it?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. But that's why, I mean, budgets are important, and how you're able to talk to influencers, because as I said, they're people, so you're managing relationships. You cannot be looking at them as ads and think like, okay, I have $200, I can put it on Google ads and get this many sales, versus giving it to this person and letting her put it out for 2,000 people and see what comes out of that. It's difficult to quantify. It's difficult to explain to CFOs that approve your budgets, how this will actually impact the business. And sometimes, from an attribution point of view, it's not necessarily like we're going to get the result immediately, but it's a bit like planting seeds with brands and influencers. So I'm sure you have, as a lot of viewers or listeners have, followed someone because you liked what they said, but you're not necessarily buying into it yet.
Uh,
With repetition, with time, it might come back into a sale and it might not. But that brand and that product or that service will have been planted into your brain. So it's a seed, and it will take time. Or if it's a promotional activity, so example, oh, there's a sale at, I don't know, Trapezi, go buy it now, then you can see direct impact. But for brand building and product placement, it might take longer, and then it becomes more difficult to justify and measure whether it was a successful campaign or not.
I see exactly what you mean with the planting the seed. Linda, you're deeply involved in the creator economy, and I
Yeah.
wanted to just look ahead at 2026, which is where we somehow find ourselves. Where is the time going? But just talk me through, if you would, some of the things you expect for content creator marketing this year. Any trends or any shifts that you expect to experience?
I think the industry now, we're going to start seeing marketing technology companies getting involved in the segment. So we're going to see more marketplaces and apps going out into the market. We're going to see a bit more governance, and we've already witnessed that in the UAE. We're going to see definitely growth. I'm going to be there for the 1 billion followers summit, and that has already gone into a different realm. So I think we're going to be seeing growth, and we're going to be seeing governance. So we're going to be seeing a little bit more government involvement, more laws in place to try to regulate this industry, and we might see through the MMA a rate card that will start to make sense and catch on. So yeah, my prediction is in the next 5 years, the influencer marketing industry is going to be doubling what it is right now.
Okay, well, that's huge growth. In terms of the challenges that brands face when they partner with influencers or content creators, well, what are the standout challenges? What are the ones that really irk you, for example?
the the biggest thing is control. Okay,
Right.
so marketing managers are in control, or marketing directors, or whatever it is. So brands have to control their output,
Mm.
and with influencers there is no controlling them. They are human. They do not come with publishing dates. Sometimes they will take the advance and be true to wanting to create the impact that they're trying to promise. But because they're human, because it's a human interaction based completely on trusting someone else's word, if it's not contractual, I think the loss of control, or giving up your control to someone else, because you're not giving it up to a magazine, the proof is so difficult. So my biggest irk was deadlines. I was a swimwear company, and I pay the influencer. They want their money up front, so you pay them, and then they post in October when the season is over. So that was definitely, as far as I was concerned, a loss. Huh.
Mm.
Is it possible that they have planted the seed for next season, yes, but it did affect my sales in that season. So that would be a minus for me. So I think the biggest issue is KPIs, defining them, and measurement afterwards. Measuring impact, I won't even go into that because I mean, we have a lot of websites now that are able to give us a little bit of analysis of how the campaign or how their post did, but that doesn't really show on performance because you can. I had one Moroccan influencer who would create the nicest pictures, and we would get 2,000 new followers every time she posted, but we would get zero sales out of that. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, was she a good influencer? Yes, she was. Did she create sales from her own following? No, but her pictures would create sales for me from my own following. So it's a very difficult measure. It's a very difficult attribution, and it's a very difficult because it's so human based, it's difficult to say this was good or this was bad. So yeah,
It's very subjective, isn't it? That's the thing. I
yeah,
think in lots of cases.
exactly,
I was going to ask you that
exactly.
question, and you've kind of answered it. I was going to ask you how you would measure success when you work with creators, and
Yeah.
there isn't really an answer to that, is there?
There, I mean, as I said, there is more analytics involved now than ever before because the websites are able to give us, okay, you got this many new followers, you got this much engagement. If something goes viral, then that's a great measurement. It will tell you that it was successful or unsuccessful that way. But yeah, I mean, the measurement is, as you said, subjective and not objective in terms of did it do well? Did it? But then it's really the company or the brand's responsibility to create a KPI for that influencer. So the KPI, the one part of it is quantifiable, which is give me, 2 posts, one story, and I don't know, show up at my event.
Mm.
So those are measurable because they've done them, they have proof of them or whatever. But how effective was that person being there is usually quite difficult to measure. But marketing attribution in general is a difficult subject to measure. So, brand building activities are difficult to measure impact. And I would say that influencers and content creators are part of the brand building activity. It's no longer a marketing tool or performance tool. They are definitely part of the storytelling, the brand building, and that's why it's difficult to measure. Yeah.
Final question for you, Linda. You are an entrepreneur yourself. Once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, I think.
Yeah.
Having built
Yeah.
and scaled, international brands yourself, what would your advice be to brands looking to leverage content creator slash influencer marketing really effectively?
I think the primary thing for them to do is understand what they want to achieve through influencers. It cannot be, one marketing strategy that applies to all the different aspects of your marketing strategy. So, for influencers, understand your market, your target audience, find the most authentic voices in that market that address that segment, and then give them the freedom to position your brand and position your product or service in a way that will resonate with their followers rather than communicate the message that you want solely. That would be my advice for sure. Let them do their thing. Just make sure they're the right people in that segment.
The influencer economy on Morning Drive. Linda Kender is regional director for the MENA at MMA Global. It's been good to talk to you. It's been truly insightful. Thanks, Linda.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Tim, and thanks for having me on the show.
Appreciate your time. It's The Morning Drive. This is Mira Business FM. A like, a subscribe, always appreciated wherever you join us from, wherever you find us at. Get in touch. Tell us what you think. Everything we do is available to listen and or watch. Again, so you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Mira Business FM.